micro level, for every individual, including the corporates and including individual, in their livelihoods, finance is very important for everyone, right? So how do these banks, use, like, see, banks earlier we learned under central and commercial banks, they located in the urban areas and where they have like good business. Okay, there the commercial banks have been located, but in the rural areas, the providing finance to the rural people is much important, because as even rural area people are more much in need of money, right? Because they need money for various purposes. They need money for various purposes, like buying seeds to meet their livelihoods, or to, what do you call, for buying from agricultural equipment. For different purposes, they too need money. So what they used to do, how do they get their money before these rural banks? So usually rural people used to get their financial requirement, fulfill their financial requirements for various purposes by borrowing. Okay, by borrowing from not only various purposes, for sometimes even for the livelihood, by borrowing from the money lenders. So here, these money lenders, if you see, are unorganized sector, where the money lenders play important role in the rural areas. Like they used to collect huge rate of interest and charge. They sometimes they also take the fixed assets like lands of these farmers and agricultural owners. So organized, unorganized sector, money lenders are treated as an unorganized sector. These farmers or the rural people to meet their various requirements, like for agricultural people to buy the seeds, to buy the agricultural equipment, or sometimes when crops not come for their livelihood, they used to borrow from these money lenders. And artisans, like people used to borrow money to for the development of their craft or their craft works. So like that, these non-organized sector people, as they are not under the control of any other people, in order to to meet their basics and to cope with the risk, and these rural people used to raise funds from the money lenders who are unorganized sector, and they don't have any control upon their activities. Okay, no regulating body and no control upon these activities of these people, and they used to lend money to these required rural people at a higher rate of interest, at a higher rate of interest. Okay. Yes. I'm sharing screen. Organized sector is that where government enter into the picture and undertake and introduce the rural banks in order to provide financial assistance to the rural people. So that's how we got a rural banks, and rural banks the very objective of providing financial assistance to the rural. Right. This is our today's topic, rural banking and agricultural finance in India. Along with that, we also learn about cooperative banking system. So we know many banks are there to provide financial assistance to the corporate entities. Along with that, these commercial banks, which are providing financial assistance to the corporate banks, they also came forward to provide financial assistance to the farmers, credit facilities to the farmers. Okay, because in the agriculture sector, providing financial assistance is a benefit to the farmers and the people living in the rural areas, because the bank and financial institutions extended their services to rural area in order to provide employment and provide credit facilities and financial assistance for various purposes of the rural regions, so that it leads to the economic development, overall economic development of the country. So rural finance is a credit specifically provided to the agriculture industry to fulfill their agricultural requirements. Okay, this rural finance starts from the mortgage assistance to the land development and purchase of farming equipments, credit facilities for various reasons for both rural and urban, semi-urban people. Okay, so rural finance generally, so that means what is the rural finance? It provides credit assistance specifically for the rural and agricultural people for the agricultural sector in order to meet their various requirements like financial requirements to purchase the agricultural equipment or for different credit loans, and also like yes, providing mortgage assistance also. Okay. So in India, which is basically a agriculture sector based company or agriculture based company country, this farming finance is most important and related to the development of the country. So let us see what this rural finance is. Rural finance. First, what is mean by rural? The people who live in other than urban areas and who depend on mostly on agriculture or any art work, craft work, we call the rural places. Excuse me. Okay, finance means what? It's simple to say. Finance means a capital which is collected in a monetary form or in terms of funds that are borrowed in order to meet various financial requirements from which is borrowed from the financial institutions we call as the finance. So capital, a lump sum amount which is borrowed from the financial institutions for various agricultural financial requirements we call as the finance. Rural finance means what? About rural finance, World Bank has defined as the provision of a range of financial services like savings, credit, payments, insurance to rural individuals, households, and enterprises, or both farm and non-farm or on sustainable basis is called as rural finance. Means like whatever the purpose, it may be a financial assistance or a provision which is created or provided in order to for the purpose of savings or to provide credit or to make payments or for the purpose of insurance to the rural individuals or households or the farmers or the companies or non-farming companies, whatever provided the object of sustainable development, such amount we call as rural finance. So definitions are given various. In general, various people call rural finance is credit to poor rural people for farming. In general, various people call rural finance means credit facility that is provided to the poor rural people for their farming purposes is called as rural farmers. That is okay. And whereas the consultative group to assist the poor, CGAP, called rural finance, defined as the provision of financial services for rural farming and non-farming populations at all income levels is called as rural finance. So they said whatever the provision that is provided to provide financial assistance to farming or non-farming groups without their income levels, such provision is called as rural finance. That is what they define. And coming to the objectives of rural finance. First objective is to build the rural financial markets. Means they want to upgrade the rural areas also in all the financial aspects. To next, to promote economic growth through mobilizing resources and providing financing for financial and economically viable investments, economic activities. Next is promote economic growth. See, as I said, the rural finance provides rural finance is banks by providing rural finance wants to bring a equal economic growth throughout the country, right? So economic growth, to promote economic growth is and by mobilizing the resources, it wants to promote the economic growth and provide financing facilities to the rural people so that investments and economic activities can be made easy. The next one is efficient resource allocation. Yes, people, those who have the huge funds, instead of maintaining them as a savings, debt savings, if they mobilized in the form of loans or the certain purposes, the revenue generating activities that makes more useful. The resource allocation, efficient resource allocation means allocating the surplus funds for the in the form of loans to the rural people and helping, assisting in the economic development of the country is one of the next, to contribute to better income distribution and poverty reduction by enabling access to financial markets also for the poor people. Yes, even in order to enable the poor people also to access the financial market and to improve their income levels and reduce their poverty, in order to make that facilitate the reducing their poverty and improve the income level is made it possible for the regional people also by the establishment of microfinance, rural finance made it possible for the rural people also. Sustainable self-supporting in rural financial institutions. Yes. When rural people are getting financial assistance in their areas only for their financial requirements and accordingly at the lower rate than the urban areas and for different purposes, automatically they can lead to sustainable development and also self-supporting means regional people, rural people will become self-supportive in the terms of finance. Means achieving the in order to achieve these objectives in a realistic, the market-based interest rate policy plays the most. So whatever the rural finance that you are encouraging for various purposes, whatever the purposes or the objectives that the rural finance is created, these all objectives to be achieved means in a real, these all objectives are achieved only with the help of interest rate policies, which plays important role. Their information and their role in selecting investments for financing and allocating resources efficiently takes a important place. Interest rates. See, whatever you give the finance, if your interest rates are low, people will come forward. If your interest rates are high, people will not come forward. So the entire rural finance achievement objectives achievement of the objectives of entire rural finance depends on the interest rate policies. Okay, so this interest rates help in selecting investments for financing and allocating the resources efficiently. So that's plays a very important role. So here, if you look into the rural credit system, generally, as I mentioned, rural credit system is two types: unorganized or informal, organized or formal. Unorganized is that money lenders who do lend money and provide loan assistance to the needy people, poor rural people, but at higher rate of interest, and that helps only development of those money lenders. Whereas organized or formal system is the one where the credit is provided by these rural banks, which are operated under the control of concerned bodies or the government, the interest of the public. So this is now, if you see the rural credit, we these people, why do they go for rural credit? Because of various needs to meet various they meet their various financial needs. People go for either the organized sector or the unorganized sector. Okay, so generally, what types of needs they have? They have a short-term credit requirements, they have medium-term requirements, and the long-term requirements. Short-term requirements, the small amounts which they need to meet their crop requirements. Okay, for buying inputs. Uh, for cultivating the crops, they need seeds, pesticides, fertilizers. That is short term. And then short term, medium term to meet for they may buy some for installation of water motors or like that. They may need a some financial requirements, long-term loan credit facilities, equipments, agricultural equipments. To buy agricultural equipments, they may go for long-term financial credit. So this like that different purposes these rural credit farmers may go for. So the reasons why do they go for these rural credit for different purposes depends on various reasons. Among that, one is long gestation period. Like in farmer, for the agriculture people, the gestation period is long. So means that they have to cultivate, they have to sell the crop, then only they get it. Okay, and for buying inputs like seed, pesticides, fertilizers, personal use expenses, as the poor people, that is rural people, do raise the finance for meeting their personal expenses. So with these reasons, rural credit has been given importance, but this depending on the volume of money required to meet these requirements, they will go for a short-term loan, medium-term loan, or long-term loan. So once, in order to fulfill these financial requirements of the rural population, banks came with different different banks came forward to establish rural banks in the rural areas. The impact of such banking sector in the rural India is that wealth of farmers, wealth to education system, wealth to business people, retail banking. So the impact of rural banking system in the rural India entirely changed. The farmers' wealth has been increased, education system has been increased, the business people showed importance, and retail banking system has taken wings. Yes. So, what type of banks can be opened in rural areas in order to means for what purposes the banking opportunities in rural areas? Like what these banks, what opportunities if they open their banks, if they open their branches, who are their customers? what purposes they are supposed to provide financial assistance to the rural people. If you look into that, opportunities from merchandisation, agro-based industries, warehousing, retail banking, educational. For all these purposes, rural banks we will learn in our next topic what we call modern methods in banking. Modern methods in banking we can learn there in detail. Now, for the time being, I can say as a okay. Banking, banks, retail banking means undertaking various financial services to the individual customers. Okay, then the consumers are business entities. Retail banking means when banks provide various financial services to meet the requirements of individual customers. Such banks we call as the retail banking. That means they provide loans, they access, they provide credit, they accept the deposits, and they provide various other financial support to the banks. Okay, if you see like what you call earlier overdraft system. Overdraft facility used to be there only for current account holders. Okay, that means overdraft facility means what? Even if they don't have the sufficient fund in their bank, in their account, up to the limit given by the bank, current account holders can withdraw the money. Upon that money, the bank charge interest, and as and when the amount is deposited, is deducted from their loan. Okay, so this is overdraft facility. Such kind of facility has been provided by the banks even to the consumers. What is that? Credit card facility. What is the credit card? If you don't have money in your debit card, you can use the credit card, and within the time limit given by bank to you, you can make payments, right? And after that, within the time limit, your amount, deposited amount will be transferred to the loan given to you on credit card, and some interest is charged. Yes or not? That's it. So that is retail banking. Actually, these kind of service used to be there for the business entities. Now they started providing such services even to the individual customers. That itself is retail banking. Okay, so whatever services once they used to provide to the business entities, those services then started providing to the individual consumers. That itself we call as a retail banking. See, earlier before demonetization, we used to go banks and draw huge lots of money, or make payments, just cash payments. Now you can make withdraw the huge amounts also through internet transfers, internet banking transfers. So many e-payment portals came forward, like Google Pay, Phone Pay, like many others have been came forward, RuPay, Union, Uno Bank. So these all providing you various services and made your payment options or money collection options simpler. Not only that, phone banking. Phone banking. If you call to a number, you'll get it, right? If you call to a number, you'll get the amount details, you'll get to know the services available always. This all comes under the retail. So there is wide range of banking services that sorry, wide range of banking services belongs to whatever they provide to the corporate entities, same services they provide to the consumers. So this all comes under the retail banking. I hope you understood. The next, rural credit institutions. We have rural credit institutions like yes, up to 1950, 50s, there used to be money lenders, as I mentioned. Money lenders, the monopoly powers, they used to issue money to provide loans farmers at a higher rate of interest, right? They used to provide credit to the rural people at higher rate of interest. If they are not able to repay, they used to take over their lands. Again, with the extension of these credit facilities, various institutions after banks came into existence, and these banking institutions then started extending the credit facilities to various sectors. They came into existence, and this banking activity has become a threat for the money lenders. Okay, it had become a challenge for the money lenders. Then came into existence the commercial banks, which are into providing rural credit to meet financial assistance to various financial requirements of the rural population. So that's how now, at present, more than 80% of the rural people are getting rural financial assistance. Okay. Yes, but these institutions are depending more on credit cooperative or commercial banks. So, to this cooperative system, more short-term facilities, the protection purpose means they used to provide the loan for productive purposes rather than unproductive purposes. That is how it became very popular. Yes. Rural credit institutions, if you look, we have cooperative credit societies and banks, land development banks, commercial banks, regional rural banks, cooperative credit societies and banks. Like, what are the cooperative credit societies? These are the banks which provide loans, which provides loans for agricultural purposes. Okay. Cooperative credit societies and banks. They provide loans for agricultural purposes. Financial, it is also like a financial organization which borrows at low interest rates from the banks and lend to the poor people at higher interest rates. Okay. Then service to poor and low income people. And next one is land development banks. Land development banks are those banks, what you can call, which are involved in developmental activities of the lands, providing loans and financial assistance for the development of the lands, like agricultural lands. Commercial banks, even commercial banks are into cooperative like rural credit. So by extending their services, these rural banks, commercial banks entered into the cooperative sectors. Okay, regional rural banks, which again are extended in regional rural banks, which again extended in a particular rural level. Okay, we are going to learn about these in the next term. This we learned already. Commercial bank, what type of services they provide, right? Next we have finance presence in rural India. Yes, financial aids for the poor such as rural areas are in the following: national banks, private banks, credit societies, cooperative banks, and informal loan like money lenders. These are the various clusters that providing credit facilities to the rural people. Let us learn about these one by one in little briefly. Rural banking, national banks, which provide regional rural banks or Grameen banks or regional rural banks, RRBs, just now I mentioned. So these are banking sector. When banks were there, from there itself, then itself only these regional rural banks were there. Okay. The main objective of these regional rural banks is agriculture sector. They focus mainly on the agriculture sector, every corner of the city, and extended their helping and growth process of the help worked on the growth process of the regional areas. Okay, regional banks, local level operations only. Regional means at regional level only. They work in the local level operations only with the objective of providing basic banking and financial services to the rural area people. They formed with the objective of providing basic, what you call basic financial and rural credit for the banking and financial services to the rural people. Okay, generally these regional rural banks and the four regional rural banks cooperate together and work under the urban areas state level banks. Okay, and these regional rural banks are owned by the central government, which where the central government will have a 50% of its share in the capital of the regional rural banks, and the remaining 50%, 15% is contributed by the state government, and the remaining 35% by the sponsored bank. If SBI wants to open a RRB in Siddipet region, then 50% central government will contribute, and 15% by the state government, and remaining 35% by the SBI. Okay. And the next one is objectives. If you see, objectives of the regional rural banks is a credit gap, which in order to, why the regional banks were established, in order to bring the credit gap between the rural and urban areas. Okay, and in order to check the outflow of rural credit as compared to the increase the how much rural credit is coming out compared to the urban area. The next to reduce the regional imbalances, yes, especially the regional RRBs were reduced in order to remove the imbalances of credit system. Okay, increase rural employment and to generate employment. These are the some of the objectives of rural banks, and these regional rural banks. Next, after the regional rural banks, we have SBI, which is State Bank of India, a commercial bank. SBI again is a rural branch. Like it also extended its branches into the rural areas with the Kisan cards, which provided Kisan cards now for the educational programs. So that the rural people, students, young generation can make use of digital. Okay, so Kisan cards are issued in order to make the young generation more knowledge of digital world. Okay, next, yes, if you look into that, one of the recent endeavors, yes, SBI has a National Agricultural Marketing Federation, and also it has a 30 regional rural banks in India. Okay, it is SBI has spread its banks in rural areas for various purposes. The next one is that please. Foreign banks. Foreign banks. Like we used to see Standard Chartered, ICICI, Citibank, HSBC. These are the HSBC. These are foreign banks, we say, and foreign banks get foreign banks provide financial assistance to the regional areas by encouraging their foreign banks also focus on the small and medium enterprises in order to provide assistance, financial assistance to the small and medium enterprises. Foreign banks also came into existence under the rural finance. The next one is cooperative banks, which is again our separate topic for the day. Okay, cooperative banks and credit cooperatives. Yes, you know cooperative those banks which are operate. Okay, and so these rural cooperatives. Rural credit cooperatives. These we have all from long back. They provide financial assistance to the banks which are falling or the areas, rural areas which are falling shortage of supply of money or the supply of credit. Okay, and to meet the demand for short and long-term rural credit, the cooperative credit structure has been set up in order to meet the rural people's demand for short-term and medium-term requirements. This rural banks, regional rural banks, has formed under them. The next, we have two types of credit cooperative banks. One is which provides short-term facilities. One is state cooperative bank, district central cooperative bank, and primary agricultural credit societies. Okay. Actually, this should be from down to up. Primary agricultural, then district, then state. Primary agriculture at town or the rural area, regional level. Upon the primary and agricultural credit societies, district central cooperative banks works, and upon these district central cooperative banks, state government will have a control. Okay, so from down to upper. Next one is long-term credit. So short-term credit is supplied through these three banks. Long-term credit is supplied through primary cooperative agricultural and rural development banks. This is normal. The first primary cooperative agricultural banks, otherwise rural development banks. These are the two institutions which provide long-term credit. So the overall, the cooperative credit structure of India was set up in order to serve the need of the rural population, both the short-term and medium-term requirements. Yes, cooperative societies and banks. Cooperative, let us see the difference. If you see, as compared to the banks, yes, here only I would like to. As compared to the banks, cooperative societies provide less interest rates. Then talking about cooperative societies and credit banks. Cooperative bank societies are referred as the cheapest source of income or credit in the rural areas because they are formed on the basis of cooperative principles. Okay, even if they whatever the activities they undertake, their implementation and completion, everything No, so okay, so no. The next one is cooperative banks established on cooperative basis. That's why I told you in the beginning itself only. Like other cooperative, other banks, cooperative banks formed by. How do they form? How do they get their funds? In business organization, you people learned about cooperative banks theoretically there. Their features, merits, and demerits types of cooperatives. So you should recall it here. So cooperative banks, like other banks, raise their funds by collection of shares in the form of shares and other deposits and loans. Okay, acceptance of deposits and granting of loans is the basic structure of cooperative banks, like other banks. Okay, cooperative banks generally, that's the reason why we call them also as a financial entities, and they are established with various cooperative bases. Financial entity basis belong to the members. So as they are collecting in the form of shares, automatically the members becomes the owners of the cooperative banks. So this secrecy we cannot say it maintains the secrecy on behalf of others. Okay. Next, cooperative banks are financial which are established on cooperative basis. I think this one repeated. The means of customers of cooperative bank are also owners. Actually, after this, I'm sorry, arrangement is misplaced. So finally, cooperative societies and cooperative banks are said to be the cheapest banking system and most important credit source to the rural areas. And these are formed on the basis of cooperative principles, and they bring a steady, they showed a steady growth in the rural areas. Means they provide financial assistance and self-help to the farmers in meeting their financial requirements. Okay, and they are means but the source that these cooperative banks get away from the getter. What is the source of cooperative banks? The funds they get is, so in the they raise their funds in the form of shares from the public or accepting the deposits. So, okay, this source with this accepting and granting of funds, this one becomes so that's how these cooperative members themselves becomes the owners of the society or the bank because they are raising from the public. Who are the members? They also contribute their finance, their funds, so they'll become owners of the company by to their share. That's also the customers of cooperative banks also owners. They provide various financial and banking services to the rural people in order to meet their financial requirements. So in that way, we have again the cooperative banking system. We have two types: urban cooperatives, rural cooperatives. Rural cooperatives again, rural cooperatives which provide long-term loans, regional and yes, they provide rural short-term rural cooperatives, urban cooperatives. If you look into the rural cooperatives, they provide short-term and long-term loans. Okay. In order to provide short-term loans, again cooperatives are divided at three stages, three levels, three-tier system we call. From down. Primary means hierarchy falls from top to down. Okay, top level hierarchy is state cooperative banks. Under the state cooperative bank, central cooperative bank. This is not formed. I'm so sorry. This picture has to be changed. I'll change it later. So state cooperatives under central or primary agricultural credit societies. At yeah. These are at a village or town level they work, and central cooperative banks are the one which works at a district level and state cooperative. So under state cooperative banks, central cooperative works. Under central cooperative banks, primary agricultural credit societies works. Okay. So let us see about these in one brief. State cooperative banks. The very important function of state cooperative bank is providing credit in order to provide rural finance. These state cooperative banks provide credit assistance or financial assistance to the regional banks, that is central cooperatives. Functions are participate in rural finance. Center for cooperative banks by surplus funds available to central cooperative banks. There is no permission required for borrowing or lending to the central cooperative banks. Yes. State cooperative bank being a topmost banking hierarchy under the cooperative structure provide financial assistance to the central cooperative banks, and whatever the surplus funds are available, those are provided to the central cooperative banks, and central cooperative banks to borrow from the state or to lend to the agricultural cooperatives, they need not to take any permission. Okay, so that means these state cooperative banks provide financial assistance, supervision assistance, also control the functioning of central cooperatives and primary credit societies. The next we have central cooperative banks at a district level. They work at a district level. Only to the cooperative society members become the members of these banks, and we have these kind of central cooperative banks in Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Kerala, Orissa, and also even in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. There could be these central cooperative banks has the membership open to individuals and cooperative societies. Mixed. Okay. Under two types of matter. One is only cooperative society members becomes the members of the bank, and the other one is mixed, like the cooperative society members and a common individual. Anyone can become the members. Okay, this one is under in Telangana. Okay, there could be mixed central cooperative bank which has members open to individuals and to the cooperative society members. This is in the area of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. The only cooperative society members can be opened to only members. Membership is open to the cooperative society members only in the states of Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Kerala, and Orissa. Okay. So the main function of these central cooperative banks is to provide finance and loans to the primary cooperative societies at a regional levels. Okay. The next, primary agriculture credit societies at the regional level or rural areas, village level institutions. They deal directly with the rural population, and these societies encourage savings among the rural population. Okay, and that means they accept the deposits and they provide loans at a very low rate of interest to the needy people. Okay, and these so these are the last link in the cooperative banks. Okay. Rural people borrow from the primary agricultural credit. In case requirement, primary agricultural credit societies get from the central, and central cooperatives get from the state level cooperatives. Okay. Under these credit societies, generally 10 minimum number must be there. Anyone can be members of the society to run the credit society, cooperative societies, and minimum membership fee will be there, a nominal amount. And so this encourages the members to these members encourage the rural population to keep their savings money in the form of deposits with these societies, and upon which they pay little amount of interest, and the same amount would be circulated among the members to fulfill their financial requirements at a reasonable rate of interest. Okay, so these members take the entire responsibility in case of any loss occurs and for non-payment of loan amount by the borrowers. Okay. So who will manage? Control of elected board members. That is short-term credit. Coming to the long-term cooperative banking system, you have at a state cooperative agricultural rural development banks and primary cooperative agricultural rural development banks. These provide long-term financial assistance. Okay, a state cooperative bank, whatever is there, that is generally we will have one in a state. These are called as the central mortgage banks also, we used to call them. Okay. The next one is cooperative societies. Yes, these state level cooperative societies made a steady progress, also succeeded in the extension of promotion of self-help farmers. Okay, and reliance has been placed by government. Okay, even government has given support to these cooperatives and in meeting the credit needs of the farmers and regional rural people. Okay, the next, as the government provided the support and assistance, notable changes or progress also been brought by these cooperatives uh, in the states like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, etc. The next one is local. We have primary land development banks and the branches at different countries. Urban, next one is urban cooperative banks, registered in the form of societies under the Cooperative Societies Act of respective state government. And these urban cooperative banks are present in various states. Okay, and they can also be registered in a different states, multi-state cooperative societies, as per the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act. These are some of the cooperatives in rural finance to growth. That's it. Do anyone has any doubts? Yes, you can unmute your mobile. You can unmute your mobile and ask your doubts. Okay. You understood who asked about retail banking? Yes, Saida. You understood about retail banking, and in modern banking services, we will again learn about this. Okay. Can we? If anyone has any doubt, can ask, please. In tomorrow's class, we'll come with other topic. What is tomorrow? Next we have. Yes, ninth and 10th units I completed, and tomorrow regional rural banks in detail will learn about that. Actually, okay, we'll discuss about regional rural banks in detail, and then microfinance. Tomorrow's class, tomorrow is Friday, right? In tomorrow's class, we'll discuss about unit 11 and unit 12. On Saturday, 13 and 14. Sunday class, we'll have a look at a We will have a look at important questions and overview of our syllabus topic. Please don't leave. Let me take a photo of our attendance. Let me take your attendance. Yes, you can ask if any doubts. No? Okay, shall we leave? Thank you, children. Aisha, Asras, Saida. Is only the students are watching regularly. Yeah, yeah, listen.